Welcome to the J&J Show. I'm Jeff, he's Jerry, and tonight we're coming back to you with another part of our End of Days and Imminent Return of Jesus series. I believe this is part 7 or 8. I believe it's part 8. I forgot to look again. But we talked a bit about it last time, and we wanted to go into a little more detail about what that day could entail and what to expect but really I think the main thing, Jerry, you wanted to discuss was like public perception, like how we perceive it, and then what the Bible actually says about it. And we talked a little bit about it last time, where people perceive it as Christians are there 1 second, they're gone the next, and their clothes are just laying on the ground in the spot where they were. And they made a bunch of reference the I think it was back in 2012, the memes when I forget what calendar. I think it was the Mayan calendar said it was going to be the
Right.
December, like December 20th or something like that. And then there was all these pictures and memes and stuff where people were taking pictures of clothes laying on the ground and kind of mocking it and making fun of it. And that's kind of the public perception, is that we're going to be here 1 second, we're going to be gone the next, and it's just going to be a pile of clothes on the ground. But that's not how it's going to happen, is it?
No, it doesn't seem like. I mean, it will happen very quickly when it does happen. The thing is with the rapture, which is a subject probably that's more maligned than any other in prophecy circles, is that there has become this idea of how it's supposed to play out, which in large part is based upon assumptions. And like you said, this all of a sudden, this disappearing of all the Christians, which that idea is not wrong. That is going to happen. However, this idea is that after the Christians are taken up, that the earth is just going to like shrug and say, well, boy, that was really strange. Christians claim that the world is going to blame it on UFOs, which in my personal opinion, that probably will be involved somehow in the deception. I think that's something we could chat about as well. But I don't think that people really have looked, and what we're seeing now, just like, one of your favorite topics, Jeff, is the rapture dream. And that is something that has just kind of come out of nowhere. We weren't really expecting it. Kind of like these campuses and the revivals that are occurring on these college campuses that are happening. None of us expected that. Just like in the 60s, nobody was really expecting the hippie group to have a massive revival. And yet the Lord was at work and did that. Well, with right now, the Lord has really revealed to a lot of people, some of whom really study prophecy a lot. Others only have gotten into studying prophecy because the Lord has kind of brought them into it. But there are some awarenesses that have come about to scriptures and prophecies that we've been reading all along. And it's almost like the Lord has unlocked our understanding of it, which the book of Daniel kind of indicates that would occur. And so this revolves around the whole concept, like you said, of the day of the Lord. That's an expression that has been lost to the church for the most part, because the church has come to this belief that the day of the Lord is this event that will occur at the end of a 7-year tribulation at the Battle of Armageddon, that is the day of the Lord. But yet the Bible indicates that's not the case at all, that the day of the Lord is at the beginning that kicks off this 7-year period. The Bible never anywhere does the Bible say there is a 7-year tribulation. The Bible indicates there is, and it doesn't use that word. The Bible indicates there is a 3.5-year period where the Lord pours out his wrath on mankind. It does say that there is a 7-year period at the end, which constitutes Daniel's 70th week. But the abomination of desolation occurs halfway through, and it's from there to the end of the 7-year period. People have assumed that there is a 7-year tribulation that is kicked off with a peace treaty between the Antichrist and Israel. It never says that. The Bible never says that at all. That involves making assumptions. However, it does talk about the day of the Lord in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, the Lord himself. In Revelation, we keep seeing this over and over, and we've all ignored it. But I I and many others, not just myself, I'm not smart enough to come up with this. The Lord showed me some things, and what's amazing is that He showed you some things. He showed other people the exact same things, people we don't even know, at the same time. It's too much of a coincidence. And this day of the Lord is important, and there's something about it. And like we said last time, I cannot sit here and detail what the day of the Lord is going to involve completely. I don't know. I have just a guesstimate. Paul says we see through a glass darkly, but it's going to be enough to where Paul and Jesus and others warned us to be prepared, because it's going to be huge. And not be prepared in terms of, you're all going to be rounded up and killed. Right? It doesn't talk about that. It talks about be prepared to be surprised, that it's going to be a day of darkness and tremendous events, and that the lost are going to be shocked out of their minds. And so that's kind of what I want to go over, is to try to warn people to expect an apocalyptic single day, or maybe it'll be a couple days, but not a long period, that will be the day of the Lord that will kick all of this off. And we have some scriptures we can go over that actually prove this.
Yes, like I said last time, you mentioned the rapture dreams. I'll go ahead and jump on that real quick because I love to talk about those. Everybody describes it the same way. Christians going up, meet Jesus in the sky, and chaos erupting on earth below. And it's like it's an instant. So yeah, it's not like we disappear and people go on their lives as normal and they just keep going to work and do the things they enjoy to do. But I'm not saying people enjoy work, because I mean other things besides work. But
right,
it's just, I think that's how Hollywood has perceived it. I think that's how television. There's a series, right? You mentioned it last time.
mm-hmm.
Right. That kind of goes into those that are left behind, and they're trying to figure out what happened, and they're going about their normal lives, but it's not how it's going to be. When we're taken up, that's when the tribulation begins, right?
Well, that's when that 7-year period begins. Right. That kicks it off. But it will be bad, right? From as soon as the church is gone, it gets bad. However, the things that we think of, the gigantic hailstones, the hideous creatures, the droughts, the oceans turning to blood, all these things that are just really off the chain awful, that is mostly in the last 3.5 years. The first 3.5 years, we really don't know a whole lot about it seems like it's a period where there's going to be warfare, like Israel is going to be subdued. It seems like Israel will probably be overrun. It does seem to indicate that that a lot of Israelis will be sent off into exile again and into Egypt, and that some, of course, remain in Israel. We don't know how that's going to play out. But there is that first 3.5 years seen, and also it seems to be the time when Israel somehow is allowed to rebuild its third temple, which it's talking about even now. I mean, every day the Jews are talking about rebuilding that third temple, and Christians don't take it seriously, but I tell you who does take it seriously, and that's the Muslim world. They are fit to be tied. The Israelis want to have a synagogue on the Temple Mount, and they're talking about they want to have it inside of the mosque that's up there. And so that has set the Muslim world beside itself. And the Israelis seem very intent on doing this. Well, at some point they're going to. We do know that. At some point they're going to get somehow. We don't know if they're going to do it by force or if they're going to be invited to do it. Those are things we just have to guess. But there will be some sort of a Jewish temple at some point, it seems, on the Temple Mount, some sort of a synagogue, because that's where the Antichrist enters in and declares himself as being God. So if I could just real quick, the one chapter and the one verse that is critical to this, and this is what I was talking about, a lot of Christians seem to this dawned on a lot of Christians at the same time, and that is Revelation chapter 6. And it's easy to remember because it's the 6th chapter and it's the 6th seal. And when that 6th seal is opened, that right there is when it all begins. Up until that point with the 6th seal, it's events that have occurred during the past 2,000 years. And we've been over that before. We've talked about with wars, with the famines, with martyrs is one of the seals. All of that, I mean, the 20th century by itself fulfilled all of the seals, except for the sixth seal, all the first. And so at the sixth seal, and this is huge. I mean, you can spend, I would encourage people to spend time just reading this chapter. And I'm not going to read the whole chapter here, it's not necessary, but it does go through and talk about the different seals. And then it comes to the sixth seal, and it says, and I looked, and he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. Now, of course, the Bible equates earthquakes with resurrections. There was a huge earthquake when Jesus was resurrected, and a bunch of the saints were resurrected at the same time. Have a huge earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood. And you see that terminology used in many other places, talking about the day of the Lord, that the moon will not shed its light and the sun will be darkened. And the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as fig trees cast its unripe figs when shaken by a great tree. Stars, of course, we know are angels. So this is war in heaven that it's talking about. And we know that stars are angels because 2 chapters later it says, John says, and a star that had fallen from heaven gave me a key. Well, stars don't have hands that walk around handing keys out. So stars are fallen angels, because that's what John is interacting with. So the sky was, and it says the sky was split apart like a scroll when it is rolled up, which is like a spiral. And every mountain and island were moved out of their place. And the kings of the earth and the great men and the commanders and the rich and the strong and every slave and free man hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us. This is the key. This is what people missed for centuries, including myself. Fall on us and hide us from the presence of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand? So they say it right there. The people that are on the earth are aware that the great day has come, and they're freaking out about it. So it's not like they're walking around, thinking, well, gee, I guess the aliens took those people. I don't know where they went, but we're going to have some houses that'll be up for sale, and we'll have some cars that nobody's going to be driving. I guess, crazy things. Maybe it was global warming. And so it's not going to be that way at all. It's going to be these people are going to be, because they're going to see it as well. And a lot of the rapture dreams you've talked about, the lost see the Christians going up. They see it, they witness it. And so it's not something where it's a big shocker. They see it. The Lord says that every eye will see him, even those that pierced him. The whole world is going to see the Lord. There's again, just so in case people wonder, we'll take your word for it. If you look right here, and another quick, this is a much shorter verse. And they will see, and this is Luke chapter 21, verse 27. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. I mean, that's pretty self-evident that they're going to see the Son of Man coming. That's Jesus coming in a cloud with great glory. And so all of this stuff is right here. People just skip over it. And I tell you something else, Jeff, and I'll shut up for a minute. It's very frustrating, very, very frustrating, the number of Christians, and I think this is kind of the second part I want to talk about, is the number of Christians who genuinely don't like to talk about the Lord coming back, and they act very, I saw a young man the other day where I was talking to about it. He just wilted. Now, the young people, I can understand a little bit more, but any Christian who understands what the Lord is and who the Lord is, and the opportunity to see him and interact with him and to go for walks and talk with the Lord and be in heaven, I don't understand how Christians. I heard a preacher the other day just say that well, we're not supposed to just think about Lord returning all the time. And I was dumbstruck, because this individual never talks about the Lord's return or looks to, thinks about. So it's like, I don't think that's a problem. From what I see, we have very few people who are rapture obsessed. I mean, sure, we shouldn't be rapture obsessed, but Peter does say for us to focus our attention upon the grace to be brought to us at his appearing. So it says, let your whole hope be put upon the Lord's appearing. That's pretty explicit.
I don't understand Christians who aren't excited about this event, because how amazing is it going to be? Like, we hear about this and we know it's going to happen, but to actually be here, to see, to witness it, to see Jesus ride through those clouds is going to be, it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait for it.
Can't
And
wait.
yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready now. But I don't understand how you could not be excited about that. And like you said, the younger people, I can kind of get that a little bit because they want to live their lives and probably have hopes and dreams and everything. Our hopes and dreams have been dashed long ago. So no, I'm kidding, of course, but no, but I don't understand why you wouldn't want to see Jesus. Like you said, I'm so excited to see Jesus in heaven. I'm so excited to be able to interact with him. And I still don't know. I was thinking about this today. I still don't know if I'm going to wrap him in a huge bear hug or
Yeah.
if I'm going to fall down at his feet in tears.
Right.
But either
Yeah.
way, I cannot wait to meet him face to face. But to be able to see him come down out of the clouds and to see just not just to witness it, but to be a part of it, to be a part of
Right.
being lifted up into the air to meet him there, to be able to see that. And I just it puts a sense of urgency in me to want to try to reach as many lost people as possible because I know what's going to happen when the church is gone. It's like you said, the outpouring of
Yeah.
wrath does seem like
Right.
it's going to be in the last 3.5 years, but the Holy Spirit and God's presence on earth is going to be taken out of the earth with us and
Right.
with
Yeah.
Jesus,
Right.
and it's going to get bad real quick. And that first 3.5 years, that's when the Antichrist comes, right? That's when he
Yeah.
makes the
Yeah.
deal with the 10 nations,
Right.
and
Yep.
then in that 3.5 year mark is when he breaks that deal. But not to get too much into like that part of it, because I know we want to talk about the day of the Lord, which is when Jesus returns. And you mentioned people hiding underground. I saw a post just 2 days ago on social media, and it's almost like I see these posts because the Lord knows we're going to talk about it, but it talked about people already building underground bunkers. You use Mark Zuckerberg as an example. He's already building one. The rivers, the Euphrates is drying up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um, I think there's another river in there too, right? Is it? It's not the Nile, is it? It's the Euphrates.
No, it is the Nile. The Nile.
The Nile. Okay, so it's those two.
Yep.
They're drying up. The Euphrates especially though is getting really low,
Yeah.
and then they talked about the moon turning to blood, and the moon is actually what I guess the scientific term they're using is rusting. It's rusting over because there's a element called hematite or something like that. I could be wrong in pronouncing it. I almost want to look it up, but I don't want to make you sit here and wait. But it's something like hematite or something like that, and the lack of oxygen is causing the moon. And there's actual pictures of the moon starting to turn red around the edges.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
if those pictures are accurate, if they are
Huh.
taken with telescopes and stuff and not just edited or anything like that, which there are deceivers out there in the world, but
Sure.
I looked it up. I saw a bunch of different pictures. I saw the one that was used on this post, and it. I saw some articles about it too, about that element and the lack of oxygen causing it to rust over, but it's very much turning red. And like you said last time, some of the major prophets are even starting to sense it, where they didn't
Yeah.
before, and they're starting to talk about it. So, I mean, it's coming. It's coming quick. And I mentioned last episode too. People are having dreams where Jesus is saying "last call," and I've seen just since we recorded that two or three more where people are talking about God told them or Jesus told them that it's going to be soon and it's going to be last call. And when that last Gentile is saved, because there's a specific number of Gentiles that have to be saved, and it's going to happen, and it's going to come on
Yeah.
people like thief in the night. But like you said, I don't know why you wouldn't want to think about the rapture all the time. I mean, I'm a little obsessed with it too, so I think about it a lot. But just looking forward to that day, and just being able to sense when it's coming, because we're not going to know the day or the time, but we know the season. And
Exactly. Right.
and if this isn't the season, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Right. I mean, what are people thinking it's supposed to look like? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
you and I have gone over the many times on here all the different, and not just us, but other channels have as well gone over all the things that are going on. And there's so many that when you set out to have a episode where you do that, you invariably forget half a dozen different things. You're like, oh man, we forgot to even talk about that. All these different, it's very obvious. And one of the things, if nothing else, what it was okay, it's that same chapter, Luke 21. He says, behold the fig tree and all the trees. As soon as they put forth leaves, you see it and know for yourselves that summer is near. Even so, you too, when you see these things happening, recognize that the kingdom of God is near. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. And the thing about this that may seem easy to overlook at first is that the fig tree invariably in scripture, just like stars are represent angels, mountains typically represent governments, the fig tree represents and also another one, birds represent demons or fallen angels whenever you read about birds, but the fig tree represents Israel. And the fig tree, when it buds, is talking about Israel being brought back. And then he says, this generation, the generation that's alive when Israel returns and becomes a country again, will not pass away before all these things take place. Now, we don't know, certain that was however many years ago now. We've all figured it up. It's close to 80, right around 80 years. So we're very close, but there's so many things, so many measures. A lot of these things, like one guy I watched is very good. So these things have a shelf life. They have an expiration date. And the Lord said that these events are going to catch people. I mean, the expression that he uses is it will come, men fading, and they will see the Son of Man. But when these things, let's see what it said, they will fall by the edge. What are those with child? It says it will come like a trap. I don't see it right here, but it's right here in this chapter. It says it will come like a trap upon the earth. And that's not just the lost. It indicates in several places that there are plenty of Christians who are going to be surprised as well. And the reason how we know that, because he says here, he says, be on your guard that your hearts may not be weighted down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of life, and that day come on you suddenly like a trap. Who's he talking to here? He's talking to the disciples, not talking to the lost. It says, and Jesus says, for it will come upon all those who dwell on the face of the earth, but keep on the alert at all times, praying in order that you may have strength to escape all these things that are about to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. Now, that scares a lot of people because they immediately think this says I have to be righteous enough to be taken. That's not what he says. He doesn't say anything in there about you being righteous enough. It says that you will have strength. And what it talks about overcoming in Revelation, what that means is the strength to continue looking for the Lord, to continue waiting, to be patient, to continue looking up for him, to continue following and praying and walking with the Lord. That's what it's talking about. You need strength, not falling away into dissipation and the worries of life. Because it says in several places, Hebrews and John, that there will be Christians who will shrink away. We talked about that on here before. Christians who will shrink away from the Lord when this all happens, for whatever reason, they're going to shrink away. I don't know how exactly that plays out, but I can tell you one thing. This is one thing for certain. Based upon how I see some Christians acting when this subject comes up, I can only imagine what shrinking away means, because they don't like this subject, and I can only picture how disappointed they will be when this stuff's happening. Some of them, it may be that, and whatever their reason is, I don't know, but there are going to be Christians that are going to shrink away, and that's the term that it uses. It says, I got one little quick verse here, just because I like to have some verses so that people don't think that I'm making this up. 37 is Hebrews 10, verses 37 and 39. Yet for a little while, he who is coming will come. Yet in a little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. So it's talking about his coming. And then it says this, but my righteous one shall live by faith. And if he shrinks back, my soul has no pleasure in him. It's talking about shrinking back in conjunction with his appearing. You don't want to do, and then the more famous one, which or the more direct one, is in Peter. Or I'm sorry, it's in 1 John. It's in 1 John chapter 2, verse 28. And now, little children, abide in him, so that when he appears, we may have confidence and not shrink away from him in shame at his coming. So in that case, people are shrinking away from shame. Now, that could be very well because they haven't walked closely with the Lord, and they realize that they've only used him when they wanted stuff, or they've only been a Christian on Easter Sunday, or things like it. A lot of people think they're Christians, but they don't ever spend time with the Lord or have a relationship with him. So there are going to be a lot of people who think that they are Christians that aren't going to be taken. I don't know how. All I know is, like we said last time, when you read those first 3 chapters of Revelation, it becomes pretty obvious that there is a standard. It's not a standard where you have to be holy enough. Oh, well, you sinned last week, so you're not going to the rapture. That's not what it's talking about. It makes very clear that it's those who are joyful at the Lord's appearing, not those who wilt or are disappointed. Oh no, I wanted to stay here on earth. That's what it means when it says, he who wishes to keep his life will lose it, and he who is willing to lose his life shall save it. You go ahead. I got another one I want to find as well that I had.
Oh no, I have tickets to the game tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just...
Oh no, like cousin Gerard.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Yeah.
I got season tickets.
Yeah, right. I mean, I get that. Kind of, sort of, not really. I mean, I think I mentioned it last episode. There's nothing I wouldn't leave behind in a heartbeat. I have my prized possessions. Everybody's got their own prized possessions, I think, is what I said. And there's not one of those prized possessions that could keep me here when Jesus comes riding through those clouds. And
right.
I fully believe, because Israel became a country again, what, in 1948?
Yep.
And this has to be the generation, wouldn't you think? We're part of that.
And look, they are surrounded. I mean, right now they are definitely dominating. They're really on a winning streak for sure, and they're letting everybody have it over there. But I mean, so far the heavyweights over there haven't really weighed into the fight, like Turkey, Iran, Russia. These are ones that Israel hasn't had to fight them. Fighting Hezbollah and Hamas is one thing, but fighting Turkey is something else altogether, or Jordan, or Egypt. So it could go, especially, we don't need to go on, that's a different subject, but you're 100% right that they're surrounded. I mean, they say that Israel is the clock by which you judge end times prophecy. And Israel is, if Israel is the clock, then, or the hour hand, Jerusalem is the minute hand, and the Temple Mount is the second hand. And that whatever was going on, if things are going on there, that it's a big deal. And things are going on. The Jews are going up on the Temple Mount now and praying. They're not supposed to be. They're doing it anyway. And that has the Muslims really, most Americans aren't really aware of this because they're too busy focusing on what kind of shoes Taylor Swift is wearing. But Jews are going up onto the Temple Mount and praying, and they're not supposed to do that. The rules are that Jews are not allowed to pray up there. They can go up there sometimes in small numbers, but they're not supposed to pray, and they have been. And so things are really heating up, and that has the Muslim world more upset in many ways than this fighting in Gaza.
Why do you think it has them so upset?
Because that Dome of the Rock, that Temple Mount, was given to them by the Israelis. When the Israelis took over Jerusalem in 1967, inexplicably, I guess flushed with victory, as a goodwill gesture, the Israelis allowed the Arabs to keep the Temple Mount and allows Jordan to basically oversee it. So they won the crown jewel and then handed it over. And so even though the Israelis won the war, they have had to walk by the Arabs' rules ever since. It's insane. It's crazy that the Israelis did that, but they did. And so the Muslim community is used to setting the rules up there, and that even though it's in Israel and Israel controls the Temple Mount, they don't have any real say as to what goes on as far as worship and all that up there. They have to ask permission in a lot of ways to go up there, and it could set off a major fight at any time if they cross the line.
Seems like it's about to.
Yeah. Well, the Ben Gvir, the national security administrator for Israel, he is not shy. I mean, he basically says he said this week that he would put a synagogue on the Temple Mount if he wants to, that they'll do it, and that if he wants to pray up there, he'll do it. And they hate him. The Arab community despises him because he is not shy about his intentions for the basically he wants to put a synagogue up on the Temple Mount, which is a big no-no.
Yeah, things are definitely heating up over there, and that's one of the prophecies, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It's like you said. I think you mentioned it last episode, or you mentioned it before. Is that a lot of these prophets are starting to take notice, and they're starting to say, we're starting to see things in our lifetime that we did not think, or they did not think we would see. And if you've been in tune with this, you and I have been talking about this since day one on this channel, that we're here. It looks like the end times are here. But didn't you say you had one more verse? I don't have anything else for this one. You said you had one verse.
There is, and I can't remember. I got everything marked. But one thing I did want to mention that's been interesting about this process is just like the first time the Lord came, when he used the lowly to spread the word, and he told, who did he tell first? The shepherds. I mean, he didn't tell the Pharisees and the synagogue leaders and the religious leaders. The shepherds were the ones that were given the news. And it's the same way this time. The big prophets, as they like to call themselves, weren't the ones that started talking about the end times right around late 2020. Some people started as early 2017, really realizing that something was going on. But the Lord went straight to the people. It's average, ordinary people that are getting these dreams and getting these words. They aren't preachers. They aren't evangelists. They're normal Christians that the Lord is going to. And that's just like him to do it this way. And the rapture dream phenomenon, it hasn't been only people who are members of the clergy that are getting rapture dreams. It's everybody's getting them. There have even been a couple of them I've seen from people who weren't even saved, and they got saved afterwards because they were so shaken up. So it's been very interesting, but a lot of the church isn't even aware that this is going on. And if they were to find out, I'm sure their knee-jerk reaction would be to mock it, which I'm not going to do that. I'd be afraid to do that.
Yeah, I had one. I'm no clergy. I'm nobody special, and I had one, and it's actually a video on this channel. I can link it in the description if anybody's interested in hearing about it. But yeah, I mean, just the videos, and also I think the near-death experiences tie into this too. And I like to bring that one up. That's probably my second favorite topic to bring up besides rapture dreams.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Those are really starting to. I think it's all tied into it. I really think it is. And now I'm starting to see. I think I've seen like 3 or 4 of these last call videos where they're saying Jesus is appearing to them and saying it's last call. So that's starting to pick up. So we'll see if that really takes off. But I've seen just since we last recorded like 2 or 3 of them, and I saw one before we recorded. I think I mentioned it in the last episode. So that's something else. But
another thing that we're seeing a lot of is attacks on the U.S. And I know that that's something we might want to do in a separate video because there's so much of this. And when you first hear about the attacks on the U.S., you have to, at least for me, take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because it's very much an American thing to picture us being attacked. We like to do that. That's because we think we're the center of the world, so therefore we would be the ones that would automatically. But having said that, it's not impossible to conceive of a scenario where powerful enemy countries would want to attack the United States. And there are a lot of rapture dreams right now that are saying that very thing. I guess they aren't really rapture dreams, but they're end time dreams, and they're talking about attacks, missile attacks. And I tell you, Jeff, missiles are coming into these dreams, and these people who aren't even, these rapture dreams are posted years apart from different people who don't even reference each other, and they're talking about missiles coming in. And two of the guys who I don't think they even knew they admitted, two of the guys talked about jets trying to shoot down the missiles and not being able to do so in two separate dreams that were posted quite a way. So that's a whole other thing we might want to talk about at some point as well, because it does seem that there's a big attack on the United States.
Definitely. That's all I had for this episode.
Yeah, me too. I mean, just pounding that drum. We don't want people.
Right.
We're going to be able to tell the Lord, "Hey, listen, we tried to tell
we tried
as much as we could." You know.
Yeah, I mean, as opposed, as going just about as far as we can. Besides standing on the street corner with the "End is nigh" sign,
Right. Yeah.
which is how the enemy wants to portray us and make it seem crazy.
Right.
But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I'll go ahead and close this out then.
Sure.
We don't do this for the views or the likes or to try to get as many subscribers as possible. We're not trying to get internet famous. We just like Jerry just said, we want to pound that drum and we want to get the word out, and we want to try to reach as many lost as possible before it's too late, especially with this series, the End of Days and Imminent Return of Jesus, and I guess I should say End of the Age, but it's here and it's real, and Bible prophecy points to it. And I just, even now with everything that's going on and the prophets starting to take notice, that I don't know, we don't know what else to say. We can scream until we're hoarse, but it's up to you to make that choice to come to Jesus. And we hope to see you rising up into the sky with us on that day, on the day of the Lord. But that's your decision. We can lead a horse to water, right, Jerry? But
That's right.
can't make it drink. But thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. God bless.